Hey guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas. My name's Lindsay and I'm here with my husband today. He is my co-host and really today's a little different. Slightly.
Yeah, a little difference. We do one of these usually once a season.
Yeah.
Something like this.
And they might pick up because apparently they're a crowd favorite on all my social medias along with the podcast. And today we're reading some of your write-ins of your embarrassing new grad stories. And they're really good. They're really good. Like
we all have them.
We all have them. That's why I love reading them. And I just feel like the more we read together and laugh together, you'll just know that you're not alone. Like we all make mistakes in nursing, but especially new grads, just because you're nervous, you're overwhelmed, right? You're not dumb, you're overwhelmed. Yeah. I like to tell all my new grads out, all my student nurses that you're not dumb, you're just overwhelmed because in this environment, you're going to make some mistakes. This is literally, you live and learn.
Yeah, I think that's how you end up.
You live. You need to make sure your patient lives too.
Yeah, how you end up remembering a lot of stuff. You make a really dumb, embarrassing, hopefully harmless mistake, and you're scarred for life. And then you remember
you will never
that thing forever.
Yeah. And again, like, I mean, do you have one off the top of your head that you've done?
I was trying to think about that.
I've got one. I'll share. I'll share with the class. And honestly, if you've listened to these before, I might have already said this, but one of my favorite ones, I was actually a nurse tech at the time. So I wasn't a new grad, but thank God I was just a nurse tech. And we were running to a room. So let me start over. I was a nurse tech. There was a code blue was called. I ran to the room to see what they needed. And the nurse looked at me and said, grab the crash cart. No big deal. Perfect. Turned around, ran straight to the nurse's station and announced out loud to everyone, what's a crash cart? And the whole room turned immediately and looked at me and said, what? And literally someone got up, ran and grabbed the crash cart, took it to the room, came back, grabbed me kindly, pulled me aside and said, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but why did you not know what that was? And I said, I've never worked in healthcare before and no one taught me that.
Yeah, but how did you get through hospital orientation? They drill that into your head.
And clearly they didn't. They didn't. So I missed what that was and showed the whole world that was there at the time that I had no clue what a crash cart was. And I was really fucking embarrassed for quite some time. But you live and learn. And luckily the patient, they didn't die on my account. They were already dying. So
yeah, that's a tough one.
It was a tough one. You have one that you can think of? If not, that's okay, and we'll dive into the stories.
Maybe these will jog my memory. I know that I've made plenty of mistakes. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if there are any that were super egregious, but there's been a couple times that I'm holding. I'll have Pepsid and heparin. And I'm just holding them both in my hand, and I pop the top on both of them. You draw them up, and
muscle memory.
I've had a close call from that where I drew it up and was prepping to give it IV and caught myself before that. But yeah, that made me sick.
Yeah.
To my stomach. And
there's a lot
I
of
didn't
stuff
do that
like
anymore.
that I've done too.
Yeah.
But if any nurse tells you they've never made a mistake, they're lying out their ass. So we'll just dive into the first one. It says, hi, love your content, by the way. I was on the med-surg floor floating because why would they want to make a new grad nurse's experience any better? Am I right? Checking blood sugar on a 90-year-old female patient. History of type 2 diabetes. Walk in the room. Her back is facing me. She's sitting upright in the chair facing the window. Seems like she's sleeping so peacefully. I tell her, Mrs. So-and-so, I'm about to check your blood sugar. No answer. I check her bracelet for her name. Hands are a little cold, doing this so quietly so I don't wake her. Blood sugar was 500 something. I can't even remember exactly, but I run out of the room, grab one of my coworkers in sheer panic. Coworker advises me to recheck it. I go in this time to wake her up. I can't wake her up because she's not breathing. Probably hasn't been breathing for some time now. I don't just see dead people. I also take their blood sugar.
Oh no. Oh no. Wow, how creepy. I'm impressed that you were able to squeeze some blood out. There's nothing really circulating. I guess you can get out of a capillary bed or something.
Yes. Honestly, that's what had me thinking. Okay, hands were cold. But how many old 90-year-old patients' hands are cold? They're all cold.
Right.
All their hands are freaking cold. They're always cold. So, to me, maybe she didn't catch that. A few things here. She's a new grad. Maybe she's never seen death.
Well, you don't think about it. You're on med surge.
Yeah.
Somebody being dead on the unit it's far from your first thought.
Right. And not to mention, they're not on, like, at first when I read this, I was like, but how did we not know their vitals? Duh, I'm ICU. That's why we don't know their vitals. They're on a med surge unit. They're not connected to telemetry.
That stresses me out in med surge. I just being in ICU for so long, I'm used to always knowing their vitals.
Exactly.
At any second, and going 4 or 5, 6 hours without seeing a new set of vitals. I always catch myself on med surge. I'm like peeking in the room, like,
right,
still alive.
Like, are they still alive? But her being a new grad, of course, she didn't know in a cold lady's hands, like, that's not out of the norm.
Right.
Her not waking up right away, it's really not out of the norm.
I just like, and being a new grad, because I think the more experienced you are, like
there's a feeling
in a room with a deceased patient, the room feels different.
Yep.
It's too quiet, it's too still.
Yep.
There's just like a weird energy in the room.
There's a spirit floating around in there. That's how I feel.
You just know.
You do.
But new grad, you wouldn't.
New grad.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I thought that story was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's great, because you would never forget that. And even like the super high blood sugar, I think, like, in the death process, your cells release all their contents, so your blood sugar skyrockets. And so, that's you're not going to forget that one.
You're not going to forget that one. And I honestly don't blame you. Like, I can't say that I would not have also thought they were just sleeping.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because like cold, clammy hands on a 90-year-old lady.
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
It's really not that out of the norm.
Twice.
And, like, she wasn't stiff yet, so she hasn't been dead long.
Yeah.
Clearly, maybe she wasn't a full code, so they just moved on.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of them, especially if it's like a med surge that handles some hospice cases, you'll see that sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So next one. So I was a new grad during COVID, have never touched a patient before starting my job. Everything was online. Anyways, I go in with my preceptor to change a male Purewick or something. And his peen was doing the turtle. So it was inside of itself. I just stood there and remember being so confused. When we walked out of the room, I whispered to my preceptor, did that man not have a penis?
Oh, God.
Laughing my fucking ass off. She laughed so hard. And she said, it's just inside of itself, like a turtle.
Yeah, that was what it's not. There's so much stuff you don't expect whenever you go into healthcare.
Right.
That is one of them. You have larger patients. The adipose tissue kind of projects more than can we say penis on a podcast?
We
It's
can
a medical
on mine.
term. Okay.
It's a medical term.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was like any weird.
No, I don't think so. I think you're good.
But yeah, it projects further than the penis. And so it's like inside the body, you got to pop it out like a little pimple.
Yeah. And when you're a new grad, you've never worked in healthcare. So you're not, especially this one, she said during COVID. So she had never touched a patient before. It sounds like everything was online. So their clinicals were online.
Yeah.
So they didn't get to touch people. So this is one of those things that I like to tell people going into nursing school, since we're out of COVID, that your experience on the unit is going to mean a lot. If you have the bandwidth to work in the hospital as a tech, as, I don't know, anything in the hospital that you can do, a med assistant, whatever it may be, phlebotomy, get your hands on some patients, because you're going to be more comfortable with going in and touching them and seeing that different bodies are very normal. Very normal.
That's one thing I didn't think about it. We just went and got jobs as techs because it was like, it paid pretty good, and it was in medicine. I didn't think about it till afterwards, like when we were actual nurses and seeing brand new nurses who had never done patient care before. There's like a awkwardness that you start with that you have to get over, and like you feel weird touching the patients and like talking to them, and that was one thing that was like second nature by then, because we had been techs for years. So that's a hack. That's a good head start. And the entire like first 2 semesters of nursing school is pretty much teaching you how to be a tech. And so if you work as a tech or a PCT or anything before,
you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, you'll have a good head start.
And then, especially if you work as a tech, you'll see that you'll probably have experienced this many times before you're a nurse.
Yeah, there's all types of bodies. I like that she went in with no judgment. She was like, all right, no penis. It's a hospital. It happens.
When really you just got to push them out. I thought that was cute. It's funny that I can say this stuff is cute, like, but some of it's cute. It's like, it's harmless.
Yeah, it's harmless. There's a lot of stuff that you don't, nobody talks about it in the hospital, but you see it pretty frequently.
Right. The next one. Here's my embarrassing new grad story. My facility uses Epic, and while trying to pull a blood pressure over to the chart from the patient's continuous monitoring, I accidentally filed every vital sign for every single minute of my 12-hour shift at Shift Report.
I think I've done that. That's Epic makes it because you
they make it a little too easy.
Yeah, you accidentally hit the minute, then you drag across left to right, and you
done.
think that you've just hit your shift, but you've done like 250 entries.
And imagine if she just clicked the check mark, like done.
Yeah.
And then like you have some that say they're not breathing, and you have some that like are off, like they're like not accurate artifact stuff happening, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I bet when the physician goes in to look at their trend graphs, I bet it's
I bet that pisses them
looks
off.
a little wild.
They're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
that was quick, but this next one is a little longer. Hi, one of my new grad stories is a patient died, and I was told to either go into the room to retrieve something or go see the patient that had passed away for experience. I honestly forget. Anyway, it's night shift. I slowly peeked in the room. I saw the patient was moving and talking and watching TV, and I completely freaked out and ran to my preceptor. I was like, oh my God, she's alive and moving around. I don't know if it's a ghost or what. The preceptor said, what? So she quickly shot up and went to the room. I pointed to the room she looked in, and she was confused. She looked at the room number and was like, honey, this is the wrong room. It's 4113, not 4112.
Yeah,
like a ghost.
That's like
a patient.
Classic hearing hoofbeats and thinking zebras.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't, you don't think at all like, I'm looking in the wrong room. That makes way more sense. You're like, zombie.
No, exactly. Because
Immediately.
again, it's one of those things that like for me especially, I just know the mindset this person was in. You were told to do something. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think twice. I'm doing tasks. I'm doing what I'm told. So you're going to go exactly to where you think the room is, look in, oh my God, they said this person's dead. There's no critical thinking yet because you haven't developed it yet.
Yeah.
And you're too worried about messing up or looking dumb that you look dumb.
Yeah,
and it's not your fault. Everyone goes through this.
Yeah, your brain can only do so many things whenever you're first starting, and that's a tough one. Like, because that's got to be embarrassing. Or you're like, oh, you try to report a zombie to your charge nurse.
And she's like, honey, it's the wrong damn room. Yeah. This person has another new grad story as well. My other new grad story. I had to crush up meds with the Silent Night pill crusher. I placed the packet into the pill crusher. I'm slamming the pull part hard. I'm like whacking it with all my might. I felt like I was just lost in oblivion while I'm focusing on crushing these meds. And one of the more experienced nurses came to me and said, hey, you're losing all of your medication. I looked up and realized I'd never closed the med packet. So the meds were crushed. However, a cloud of dust of medication was all over my scrubs, my hair, and my wow. I started to feel funny because I had breathed in one of the medications.
Oh no. Yeah, I see that a lot though with the Silent Night. People think that it's like this like action hammer and you need to like throw it down. It's made to be silent. You just press down on the handle and it crushes the.
But we go smack, smack, smack.
Yeah. It feels more satisfying, I guess, to
beat it up. Literally, that's what I mean. I'm not gonna lie. Every now and then, I go in and just smack the shit out of it.
I've had drugs like that have like warning labels on them, and you crush them or whatever you have to do with them. And there's definitely some that you breathe in and you get a weird taste in your mouth. You're like, I wonder how many years I just took off the end of my life.
No, literally. And for those of you that are listening that don't know what a WOW is, it is. What is it? Something on wheels.
Workstation on wheels. They used to be called cows, but they...
computer on wheels.
They got phased out.
Come on. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple more for you. My embarrassing new grad story. I was a baby nurse in the ER, still am, and we were doing a procedural sedation to fix a shoulder. It was the end of my 12-hour shift, so my brain was not firing on all cylinders. I'm in the room with the doctor, a resident, and an anesthesiologist. Anesthesia walked in and said, "What's her name?" I misheard and thought he said, "What's your name?" So I very, very slowly say, "Alex?" as a question. We had met several times before. He knew who I was. My brain just wasn't working. I wanted to melt and die.
I had in the ICU, there was like a team of maybe 5 doctors that covered this ICU that I first started working at. And there was one doctor, and if I had any like really dumb mistake, if I ever made a really dumb mistake, it was with this doctor only.
Every time.
He had to think I was the biggest dumbass in the entire hospital. And it was just like, I couldn't, I didn't make a ton of mistakes, but if I ever made one, it was with him in the room, like without fail. And like, it's just so embarrassing because like you want to look competent, you want to be competent. And there's sometimes you just like, we were just not destined to be buddies,
Yeah, I feel like this one too, it's like harmless. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had a miscommunication with someone at work and I say something and I can tell they're looking at me like, what the fuck did you just say? Because like I didn't hear what they said, and so whatever my answer was not appropriate for whatever they asked.
Yeah,
because there's just miscommunications all the time, which is why so many things happen that shouldn't happen.
And even like not medical, I had one. It's still to this day I get like secondhand embarrassment.
Wait, what?
Because I don't know why, but I was in the room. We were doing like a procedure, and one of my sisters had told me. And come to find out now they were messing with me. But one of my sisters had told me that this year Halloween falls on Friday the 13th.
Okay.
And it was just like a little piece of information I tucked away because I thought it'd be interesting to tell somebody else. Never crossed my mind that's not a thing. And so like it's quiet in the room while we're doing the procedure. And I was like, hey, do you guys know that Halloween's on Friday the 13th this year? And I thought I was just giving like a little nice little tidbit of information, keeping things rolling. And he looked at me, he was like, it's on the 31st every year. That's not possible. And it never dawned on me. It's such a dumb thing too. It never dawned on me that's not possible. Yeah, I've never told you this because it's embarrassing. I felt like such an idiot.
You know what? That is why earlier this month you said, did you know Halloween's on Friday the 13th? And you hoped
Yeah,
so
I don't want to be the only one that fell for it. I wanted you to fall for it.
I literally looked at you and was like, you think I'm fucking stupid?
I'm stupid. Apparently. Not another question.
Just hilarious.
Yeah. I don't remember which one of the girls told me that, but
it was probably Laura.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Laura thing. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Damn.
Luckily, it was Dr. Noakes. Like, shout out Dr. Noakes.
Dr. Noakes is fucking awesome.
He was nice about it. But
shout out Dr. Noakes.
I'm sure he didn't want me touching his patients after that.
What the fuck's wrong with this guy? All right, moving on to the next one. New grad story. I'm sorry, they all start with that, but I just literally copy and pasted them over, so I'm just reading the title. I had my first job as a nurse at a medically complex rehab hospital. It's like long care purgatory. Patients are too sick to be at home, but not palliative enough for LTAC. Anyways, there's never enough pill crushers for staff. Constant mayhem on this floor, I tell you. I opened a cupboard in a rarely used room while taking a break one day and found an electric pill crusher. Dusty as hell. But out of the blue, I remembered this and I plugged it into charge in the nurse's station, and then I forgot about it. My 12-hour shift ended and I'm walking to the staff room to get my stuff when I hear overhead, code red, my floor. I run back to find the nurse's station engulfed in smoke and a decent-sized fire coming from the dusty-ass pill crusher I plugged in earlier. We had 3 vented patients on our floor that we had to move off the floor immediately. One staff member went to the hospital for her asthma that got triggered. And the fire department had to come and bring these monster-sized fans to get the smoke out of the hallways. It's been 3 years and still haunts me to this day. People still joke about it, saying things like, quote, "Don't look at Westford the wrong way. She'll light you up. LOL. Thanks for reading. If you made it this far, love your content."
Jeez.
I would never return to work.
Because it's so harmless. Like it's medical equipment in the hospital. You'd think it's fine. It is not. It's rarely fine.
If it's dusty ass, you find it in the back of a cupboard. No. We're just not even gonna try. There's a reason it's in the back of the cupboard. But also, why didn't someone put the little don't use, broken, put it in the soiled utility?
I've come to find half of these hospitals are like old electric equipment from the 80s and exposed cords and stuff.
Yeah.
Really, it's
where it's honestly, it's not really your fault. It's honestly the person who put it in that cupboard's fault if we think about it.
And of course it's got to be in the unit with vented patient, the most possible hassle that could happen.
Literally, I would be so upset. I'd be like, fuck. Honestly, I would would you have admitted it was you? If you saw it, you're like, who the fuck plugged this in?
You never lie in the hospital. There's cameras
Who
everywhere.
did? Oh yeah. And you're like, hey.
Yeah.
I just feel like that would haunt me.
Yeah.
That would haunt me for life.
Man, and that's such a tough one because it caused so much trouble, but it was like,
Was it your
it's not even being dumb. Like,
No.
it's a piece of medical equipment.
She said, hell yeah, because they're short. Honestly, this is the hospital's fault, or this rehab hospital. Why don't you have enough pill crushers? That's what she
Yeah.
said at the beginning. There's never enough pill crushers on this unit. Not to mention, why doesn't every unit have a silent night? That shit drives me nuts when you give me the little
I
blue
hate the
and
Swiss
clear
one.
one or the
Yeah.
red and clear one that almost breaks my skin off my hand.
Yeah, if I have arthritis, like in my 40s, that's where
Suing.
it came from. Yeah,
Suing
Yeah,
immediately.
for sure.
Whoever made those, by the way,
Go to hell.
fuck you. I'm so sick of you. All right, a few more. I lied. There's a few more. I was told we shouldn't use abbreviations in nursing school, so I never learned what a cabbage was. I was a new grad, and a physician called me one morning. Physician, is the patient prepped for their cabbage? Me. No, they're NPO and can't have cabbage.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, coming out.
And of course, it's got to be a cardiothoracic surgeon because there's no way you're getting any grace from them.
You know they're just like,
Yep.
you fucking moron. And you're not a moron, because I agree with you. Nursing school did teach us about abbreviations and how like not to use them, yet they still use them. I'm wondering
Half of medicine is abbreviations.
I'm wondering if she's specifically meaning there's like a few that you're
Yeah.
not supposed to
Yeah, there's
abbreviate,
some
and
you
in
don't
her
use.
brain or his brain they thought don't abbreviate. Like, you know how you hear something and then you
Yeah.
just umbrella term it for everything.
Yeah, like
That must-
pharmacology, there's a lot of rules and don'ts
Yes.
and stuff like that. But yeah, that's brutal.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I can just feel the secondhand embarrassment from that, because I'm sure I just know I've done something in front of a doctor. Oh, I have a story about what I did in front of, what was that doctor's name? He was like ex-military at our first hospital. He was awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I loved him.
I don't. No, yeah, he was great. I just don't recall his name.
Okay, well, let me tell you the story. We were in with a patient, me, him, and I think maybe my preceptor at the time. We're in with a patient, and I was just briefing him, updating him on this patient. And I said, you know, da-da-da, and she has a history of hemorrhoids on her anus. And he said, well, where else would they be?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
It's like, well, yeah, so they're going to, but like he said it in front of the patient, and I'm like, cool, I hate myself.
Yeah, just
But like,
kill
I
me.
just was trying to be more like, oh, look at me with my medical terms. And he's like,
He has hemorrhoids on his human anus.
on his human asshole. And he's like, yeah, where else would they be? Cool. Okay. Anyway, another time with that same doctor, kind of like with you earlier, where you're like, I always had issues doing stupid things in front of the same doctor. I'll never forget when we had a patient, in my eyes as a new grad, I thought they were crashing. I thought it was a done deal. Like, this is bad. We couldn't get a hold of their intensivist.
Mhm.
I knew that the other intensivist was on the floor beneath us. So I called him. I'm like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, can you come up here because this is happening with this patient? He said, that's not my patient. I'm like, I know, but I can't figure out like why we can't get a hold of this other doctor. And he said, Lindsay, hang up this phone, call House Soup. Like, he was so irritated with me, but almost like in a dad way. He was very dad-like. He was like, hang up this phone, call House Soup. I literally have nothing to do with that patient. Then Code Blue goes overhead and he hears it and he's like, I'll be right there. And he comes up, but he's still irritated with me because he's like, why can't you figure out how to get their doctor involved? Like, he was already busy.
We don't have a GPS tracker on him when they want.
To be fair, we don't have that, but I
Yeah.
think he wanted me to go through like the chain of command on how to find that doctor. But
Yeah,
then like
that
he
takes
heard
time.
He heard Code Blue and he was
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck, someone's got to come up there and fix this shit.
Yeah.
But I did feel pretty embarrassed by that.
Yeah, I think you get some doctors that they can spot a new grad right away. Probably all of them can spot a new grad right away, but
Yeah.
some are like, oh, here's a chance for me to let out a little of my frustration.
I
While
know.
some are more like, this is how you learn.
Yeah.
Even if it takes a little more time, this is what medicine is. This is how you learn. I had to learn at one point. It's crazy how many people forget this. Like,
It's
everybody had to
true.
learn in the hospital at some point. Everybody had to be a little dumb at some point and make some mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, something I find helpful, new grads that are listening, is I was telling people, hey, I'm a new grad. I use that excuse up to 2 years.
Yeah,
I said,
open up.
I'm new, actually. Lindsay, you've been here 9 months. I'm still new.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Like, Lindsay, you're literally charged today. Why are you?
I need an adultier adult. I would tell my doctors that all the time because they do just have this, a lot of time, expectation of us. And when you're new, you can't meet those expectations that they have of you. Like Dr. Al-Hamed. I will always bring him up and I will say his name loud and bold because I actually ended up loving him. But when I was a new grad, he scared the absolute shit out of me.
Yeah.
He scared me so bad because he was so like, I need this, this, and this. You need to know this, this, and this. And I remember one time he came in to extubate a patient. And like, what doctors actually come in to help extubate the patient? I rarely see that these days. It's like the RT.
Yeah.
And that's it. But he came in to extubate the patient and he told me to go get the RT, go get this, this, and this. And I was like, okay. And I came back with one of the wrong things. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm new. And he like looked at me and like took a deep breath and he was like, okay, come with me. We're going to go get it together. But once I told him I was a new grad, he kind of took me under his wing. He was still like really harsh and kind of hard to get along with.
Yeah, that was just personality.
It was just his personality, but he still took me under his wing and showed me like, okay, this is this and this. This is what you'll do. You know, like I found that telling people I was new helped me a lot.
No, he was cool. I had one like that with him. We were putting in an art line. It was like a busy day, of course. And I'd done a million art lines and I had always, I prepped, did all the stuff for him. This day, it just completely slipped my mind to set up the entire pressure bag and the transducer.
Oh, no.
So I forget to set up that whole piece. I'm just in there. I grabbed all of his equipment and we get the entire, he drops the line, blah, blah. We got all the way to the point where he's holding the hub.
He's like waiting for you.
With the arterial blood in it. and he was like, all right, let's connect. Oh my God, my heart dropped to my butt. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to set it all up. Like, this is completely my fault. And, he was irritated, but he was like, really, man? Like, where, it was nice about it. I would have, if he ripped my ass, I would have been like, that's understandable.
Yeah.
I deserve that. Completely screwed up on this. But he was kind of like, come on, like do your stuff right.
Yeah.
But he didn't like rip my butt. He didn't come down to me. He didn't talk down to me. He was just like, it was like I understand you made this mistake, but like, come on, hurry up. Yeah, we got stuff to do. And so he was cool, because he really cool. Could have got after me on that.
That's kind of though, like, again, like a harmless thing. He had to wait a few more seconds, but the patient was fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things too, like when you're new, you'll never do it again.
No,
you'll never do
again.
it again.
Yeah.
Speaking of art lines, I was like at least a 2-year-old nurse at this point, and I was in the room changing out the saline bag, the pressure bag, and the saline bag still had a little bit in it. And I just unplugged it without deflating my pressure bag, literally all over my face.
Yeah.
The patient that was in the room looked at me and was like, so how long have you been a nurse?
Yep.
I said, great. He really trusts me with his life at this point.
Yeah. I'll take my complaint here in a little bit.
No, literally. I was like, God damn it. That's so embarrassing.
Well, that's stuff like a lot of nurses will do that. A lot of nurses, almost every nurse will run a piggyback and come back 2 hours later and they had their piggyback clamped.
Oh, yeah.
Every nurse will feed the bed with tube feed.
Oh, every nurse will feed the bed. Like that, I'll tell you though, like that, when I do that, I get so mad at myself. Like, you dumb bitch.
Oh, and I think most nurses will, and this was on the opposite of the Dr. Al-Hamed thing, being gracious about that type of thing.
He's also not.
No. This was a different doctor.
Oh, okay.
I went down to IR for a procedure, and I think I was fairly new, but not new enough to do this. But we get all the way down there, the interventionalists, they usually come in right before the procedure, like they're busy. They come in, they want to do the procedure right then, they want everything ready. So he comes in there and he's like, all right, let me see the consent. I didn't do any consent. I completely forgot the consent. Oh, no. And it's like something that happens. I understand it's irritating. I knew he was going to probably get on my butt a little bit. So they have to tube me down a consent. The entire time he goes on a tirade about how nurses are not trained properly anymore, about how this is ridiculous.
I already
This
know what
entire
doctor you're
hospital
talking about.
is doing this type of stuff, blah, 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 blah. You know, he's giving me this stuff and pointing, and I just have to sit there and take it. And because like I screwed up, but like,
yeah, but I'm sorry. Fuck off, dude. Put your finger in my face like that, I'll black out a little bit. Just a little bit. Like, don't fucking talk. It was an accident. I'm sure that you were busy. That's probably why you forgot.
yeah. And it's like, I don't forget consents anymore, because that was like
Embarrassing.
mortifying. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, there's just a time and place. Like, yes, I know that like they have a timely manner, and I understand that they're behind and yada, yada, yada. I just don't understand being so fucking hateful for no nurses aren't trained right anymore. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and that's one good thing about, like, we mostly traveled, so you don't build a rapport with any doctor. So
Yeah.
kind of like you just deal with, you know, your two
Whatever.
personalities, and that's it. But whenever we're somewhere a little bit longer term, they get to know you, and they know you as a good nurse.
Yeah.
So if there's like a screw up that's out of your character, you get a little more grace.
Yeah.
And so that's one good thing about being staff somewhere, and getting a name for yourself as a solid nurse.
I totally agree with that. Okay, we're just for real going to do just a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. My friend that I graduated nursing school with and I got a job on the same shift in the same OB unit. Critically understaffed most nights. Having 5 couplets as new grads wasn't fun at all. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's like 10 patients.
Well, sounds like a lot. If I knew anything about that, I'd be outraged right now. That's a lot.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm totally guessing, but 5 couplets, that's pretty much 10 patients. It's a mom and a
True, yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, one night her patient had an elevated blood pressure and we had to notify the MD. His preferred method on our little preference sheet was pager. We didn't know how to page, so she called the number and she said, I don't know, it just beeps and hangs up. I said, that's weird, let me try. We ended up paging this MD no less than 8 times. He stayed in the call room, went on call, and came onto the unit thinking someone was in dire need. Luckily, he was one of the kindest OBs I've ever worked with. I'm sure he was pissed, but he didn't take it out on us at all. She works nursery, and I moved to L&D, but we still laugh about it.
Yeah, that would, because a lot of doctors, you know, depending on,
Well, like we just
especially in the
talked
middle of
about.
the night, like that's one thing that day shift is busy. You deal with families, all this and that, but like at night, paging a doctor and bringing a doctor in to the hospital is like an art. You know, it's you're like,
You got to know.
yeah,
You gotta know the
playing with danger.
Russian roulette, is that what you wanted to say?
Yeah, it's because I mean, we've had some that we had to call in fairly late, like whenever I would stay over and stuff like that. And there was one doctor that was known for any time he was called in, if the patient's dying, if it's his patient, if it's a mistake that he made or didn't put in a medication, came in a fury every single time. It was one of the, like, he'd been there forever.
That's your fucking job, though, at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you put all your stuff in.
I
Nobody else
know.
call you.
I'm not trying to be an asshole. I understand it's irritating getting called at 3 a.m., but at the same time, like this one, obviously, like, oh my God, I would it's like one of those things like you'll never forget, but you'll never do it again. And also, I'm curious how old these people are, because I've never had to use a pager.
I have no clue how to page a
Did
pager.
anyone teach them what a pager was? You know what I mean? They're like, just page the doctor. Yeah, you hear those words, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever paged a doctor.
No.
We've had texting services or something.
I've had services where you call an operator and they page, but I've never called a pager. I don't even know how to do that.
But like, clearly, so here we go. PSA. That's what it does. It beeps and hangs up, and that is the page.
So when do you have? Because some pagers show like text. Do you
See?
say it?
I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
Well, no, I hope I never know. I hope this doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
All right, we've got.
Just grow up and get tiger text, okay?
Grow up, please. Okay, let me do this last one. My preceptor told me to go hook up our patient to oxygen to get their albuterol treatment and that respiratory had already set up. I go and hook it up, and me and the patient were both so confused as to why it was going the opposite direction. I triple checked the oxygen, and I had put it at like 4 liters as I was told. Then I finally realized I hooked it up to suction.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I had to call respiratory to come set up another one, and me and the patient just laughed about it. But in the end, you could tell they were thinking, who the hell is taking care of me?
Yep.
I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that one's really not harmful at all. Like,
No, yeah. There's much worse things you could hook up to suction, like
condom cath.
condom cath, a chest tube.
Oh, chest tube.
Directly to it with no atrium.
Let's not do that. Do
Yeah.
not hook up chest tubes to suction directly without the atrium.
Yeah, why not just pull
The whole lung out.
100 cc's of pleural fluid right into your hospital's inner workings. Yeah,
Well,
that's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Like, I mean, but also it's really like
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
And
Who
like
cares?
hooking up a PureWick and putting it on full blast, like you can suck their insides out into the PureWick. I see that quite a bit.
Where you're like, damn, they didn't have it. Like it's full blast.
Yeah, well,
It's like, damn.
I've had patients. I'll go in there and they're like, I think I peed. I'm really cold. And you look down there and it's like, whoosh, it's like going full blast, like sucking everything out of the area. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you just have to turn it down to what it's supposed to be.
Well, clearly this helped you conjure up some things that you had done. Remember?
Yeah.
You told us quite a few stories.
Yeah, I just must have repressed them and
Put them in a box in your brain that like, please don't ever open.
yeah, try to forget them. And we should say like, there's lots of like scary interactions with doctors, but those are just the ones we remember. I also remember a doctor helping me pull a patient up, and I was just like awestruck. And I was like, "Are you married?
Damn, you're married, bitch.
That was a male doctor.
Okay.
But yeah, there's great stuff that doctors do. But the stuff that sticks out is whenever you're like embarrassed or traumatized about it. So that's what we talk about.
No, yeah, there's obviously there's great doctors too. Anytime we bring these up, like, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But you guys keep sending in your new grad stories. I hope you enjoyed this one. I have several more to read, but next time I'm hoping to have Ashley Adkins back on to read some of these with. So stay tuned, and please keep sending your stories. You can email them. The email will be in the description. You can put them on our Reddit page that we have, Whiteboard Confessions, or you can DM me them. But if you DM me them, they could get lost. So.
Yeah.
One of the other two, please keep sending them in and we'll keep reading them together.
Cool.
And that's it. Easy enough.
Yeah.
Until next time. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.